Well, hi, good morning, and thanks for joining me in my shop here for a bit of a late start for me this morning. So the next stage with this radio is definitely fixing up the hum problem by putting in some new capacitors to replace the big 4-section capacitor that's located right down under here. And as I think I mentioned in the last video, the difficulty with doing this is when you release the wires from all these terminals, you now have wires with no terminals to connect to, and a pile of stuff. I got to stick 4 more capacitors in here somewhere, and so I need terminals. I have some terminals. Here's what I've got available in my meager collection of radio parts. So I've studied this a little bit, and I think I've come up with a fairly good way to go forward with it. There's a little bit of a better camera shot here to look at. So when we look close at this, you see there's 4 terminals and then 2 more. There's one out here and one there. And none of these terminals are connected to the chassis. Just everything I say, just take it with a grain of salt here, because I can easily say something that 5 minutes from now I'm going to say the opposite. So I've already kind of thought this through. I think I can take this 3-position internal strip, stick it under this screw here. Just checking to make sure you can see it on the camera. That'll put it out in this area here. I can replace these 2 capacitors and relocate them slightly to give a little more area or volume here. Actually, I need volume here. It's got 3 terminals, but I have to deal with 1, 2, 3, 4 different terminals on the capacitor. So I need another terminal. So luckily in this radio, as hard as it is to see, there's a spare terminal right here. The spare terminal is not connected to ground or anything. It's absolutely spare. I'm just double checking now. So that gives me 4 terminals. But there's 2 more here. There's these 2 that are basically connected to the can of the capacitor. And typically these are grounded to the chassis, but in this radio they are not grounded to the chassis. So there's one here and the one back in here. There's 2 more. Oh, here's another one. Oh, I misinterpreted. Oh, I misinterpreted this. Here's another one right here. So there's actually 4 things hooked to the can. My plan is to leave those just as they are. The can represents the negative side of the filter capacitor. So I would eventually need to connect new capacitors, connect the negative lead of the new capacitors to one of these terminals. That's okay. I can leave all that in place. I'll be cutting away the red wire, the orange wire, the red wires here will all come away, and this resistor will be replaced and relocated too. So in the end you'll see 4 empty terminals here completely, but these outer ones, these outer 3, will still have the same connections to them. Yeah, let's look at the individual wires. So if I have this sitting over here, and bring wires up to one side and capacitors on the other, something like that, I can get 3 terminals, 1, 2, 3. So let's say I pick the one with the orange wire. Pretty sure this is the capacitor that's bypassing the, well, I don't know. Yeah, I bet you this is probably it, right? This is probably the cathode resistor for the output tube, and this is probably the fairly large capacitor that's bypassing it. That all makes sense. So can this orange wire just be moved? Yes, it can. It's long enough. How about this red one? Yeah, it can make it over there. How about this red one? Sure, it can make it there too. Excellent. I don't have to cut any I don't have to replace any wires here. Just relocate them. And the resistor can go onto here. Oh my gosh, my poor cat's crying and crying and crying for me. Come on. Oh, you weren't crying for me. You're crying for the other cat. Okay. I'm hurt. I feel hurt now. Who are you calling for? You're calling for me now. Holy smokes, I thought I got this guy all happy before I came in here. There you go. I was just putting my cats on camera and then realized I was using the wrong camera. Too bad. No, so the cat cameo today, I think it's not going to get in my video. We'll see. So, come on out of there. So you probably put 3 capacitors, run the leads down into this area here. Probably put the resistor between here, wherever it makes sense. I have lots of options here. All wires make it there. Now let's look at this. If I use this terminal here for this, then we've got these 3 red wires. 2 of them are going to make it right to that terminal, easy. This one might not. So I might have to extend 1 wire. That's not much. Hey, that's not much at all. Now, how to do this in such an order that I don't get into trouble? I could mount capacitors on here, then mount this. I can mount this and then do all the work onto it. This is probably the best thing to do. Get this mounted in place, and probably go ahead and just do the replacements on these 2 capacitors just to get that done. Get out of the way. Oops, don't throw it away now. I do have other options here, 3 terminals, but see, this one's grounded. That's typical of these things. One of them is grounded, see the one in the middle. But not this one. Okay. Now what are these screws doing? They're holding the speaker on. And they're probably just, yeah, they're just metal screws. There's no nuts on them. So let me get the one out there. I can take one out, no problem. Oh, wrong. Locked in there pretty good. Beautiful. Okay, so that won't be a problem. I'm just checking to make sure my plan will work here. Okay, next step. Maybe the best thing I can do is cut these 2 capacitors free and swing them out of the way and reconnect them later. I can install them later when I've got the other. Yeah, that's probably a better idea. That'll give me the most flexibility here. So if I cut these 2 guys away, leave wire tails, they've both got the same kind of wire. I should cut them from here. And where's this one going? So it's a bare wire. Well, it's the lead wire from the capacitor. See, they've covered one end, but not the other. Well, I don't know. I don't see anything special about this terminal. It's not, okay. Decision. Make a decision here. Okay, we'll do this. This is how we'll do it. I'm trying to avoid getting confused and trying to reduce the chance of a mistake down the road. So I'll nip this wire here. Curl it back. Curl back its mate. Okay, so I'll remember that the curl backs go together. Now just swing this guy out of here. This one, I know myself too well, even though it's hooked up right to the power thing. You think I could remember that? No, I cannot rely on remembering stuff. So I'll leave a tail sticking out there. Yeah, I have the schematic. I can always sort it out if something really terrible happens. Now I got a lot of space to work in here. Let's see if we can move this power cord wire out of the way too. A little excess. Now we get rid of some of the excess here. Put this down like that. Get my soldering iron warmed up. I'll deal with this right now. In fact, look, I'm about to solder this. Why don't I solder on... No, I won't worry about it. I was going to solder on the hanging capacitor there. I think I just... Too much too many floating things here. They're floating in my head. Missing pair of pliers. Okay, we'll try these. All that sound is me taking tools off my tool rack. There we go. And what the heck did I need them for? Didn't I drop something in there? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so we're loosening this off now and putting in the my terminal strip. Well, where's that going? Come on. Here it is. And the screw won't fit, of course. Of course that has to happen. I'll make the hole bigger. Okay, let's pick a drill that's ever so slightly bigger than the hole. That's a good start right there. Now I'm going to try to brutalize this. Brute force my way through it. We'll see what happens here. Not yet. Have to go another one. One step higher, I think is this one. I don't want to hold this over the radio. It would be too good. Oh, it's just what I was afraid of. A whole piece of metal. I wasn't holding it up high enough. We're in trouble now. Things are going downhill rapidly here. Plans are going awry. It's going to break off if I bend that too many times. Oh! Okay. Okay, plan B. Okay, I have to dream up a plan B here. Oh boy, that was stupid. Well, sometimes you learn things that way. That was stupid. Okay, I should calm myself down a little bit here, just because I like to assess my mistakes. What did I do wrong here? I know what I did wrong. So when I was trying to drill the hole, I was trying to strain relief by holding the metal like this, and I let it slip down to here. Well, then I just broke it off. That was my mistake. At least I think I learned something from that. What am I gonna do? I gotta find a terminal strip. Maybe I find one on an old radio. I don't know what I'm gonna do here. Okay, so I still have to drill out this hole here, but I've decided instead of using a fairly powerful tool with a wide handle, giving me huge amounts of torque on this, I'm just going to do it in my hand. That way, I literally can't over-torque this thing. I can't overpower it because it's just my hand. So this is what I'm doing here. Drilling this out. Kind of scared I'm going to end up wrecking this one too. I've looked around, I don't have any others. Poor stock of these things. Not without taking some other radio apart. So I'm going to drill this through. I'm going to get there. And I'll have to use this one in the radio. Now there's grinding away there. I realize I got another approach here. I've got a file that I can use here. There it is. Okay, fantastic. We're in business. Good. Well, we're in business for a while now. We'll see how far I can keep the business going here. Not very far. What am I doing? This is a grounded terminal here. So this is only coming with 2 useful terminals. Oh, I'm such a bad guy that I damaged that other one. What am I going to do here? What am I going to do? I'm going to stop and ponder for a bit here. Okay, so I think I know what I'm going to do here. There's just no way I'm going to find another suitable terminal strip. I'm going to use this one. And I'm going to leave it floating. And I figure by the time there's enough stuff connected to it, this thing won't float anywhere. It's going to be fixed in place. That's my thinking. How much sense does that make? So these are fairly floppy wires. If I did the red, and the orange, there's no support coming from them. And then I've got a raft of capacitors hooked across here. The capacitors can be hooked up to this so they're stiff. And then I could potentially strap a capacitor. I can also tie wrap this thing somewhere, potentially. And I tie wrap it to the tuning wheel. That seems like a good thing to do on this radio. Oh boy. I gotta think. Maybe there's some more solutions here in my house I don't realize. Well, I'm gonna go confer with the cats. Confer. Get it? So, you know what's missing here in trying to sort out how to deal with this is the parts I have to put in. So I should get the 4 capacitors I need to stick in here and just throw them in here and start looking at their dimension and how I can arrange them, because maybe I can make it, get the capacitors stiff enough that I can still use this kind of floating in here. That would be great. That would be great if that worked. So what was it? 40, 40, 40, 20 I believe was the capacitor here. Let's see. It's, ooh, what is it? There it is. So it's 40, 40, 40, 20. 40, 40, 40, 20. So for me, that's 50, 50, 50, 20. That's what that'll be. 47 to be exact. Okay, so I'll get those capacitors out. We'll shove them in there a little bit and start seeing what they look like. So the rating on this capacitor is 150 volts. And these are 160s, 50s. These are all 50s. And then I need a 20. I don't want to use a 50 where a 20 would do it. Those are all 50s. And they go. And a 20. 20. Let's see what we got here. 22 at 400. That's got to be the bypass. Okay. Now, let's see what those look like inside there. So they're not so big. So I could, for instance, take all the negatives, twist them together, and bring them to here. You can do things. You can extend it with a wire. I can make this into any position I like. So we did it like this. So all the negatives down to here, and the capacitor is sitting like that. The positives coming up this way, meeting up with this guy. So you have three capacitors connected here, and then we bring the orange and these two red wires around and hook them up. So that would do it. And if I bundle up the wires on this and stiffen it up and solder it down here, these will be in pretty stiff position. This hanging out the end won't be so bad. But ultimately I can throw a pile of tape on this anyway, if I really need to. These are high voltage. These are the dangerous connections, if you like, the high voltage connections, and having them riding up, sticking up on top here is just a safety hazard for somebody who might be poking around in here in the future and have no clue what they're doing. Who would that ever be? Could be me. Maybe somewhere down the road, when I should stop, I won't. And so do I need to extend the negatives here? Can I just twist them all together and jam them in there really tight? Probably not. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this up into a little bundle. I'm going to put the negatives together and put an extension wire so I can extend it down to here. That's going to make this floppy. We'll then look at kind of positioning this somewhere to give it some rigidity. There's a bit of weight in here, right? So if the radio flipped over, if it shakes the radio, the mass here is going to pull on the wires and move it around. A tiny amount. I mean, you have to drop this on the floor or something. I should give some thought to these ideas while I'm doing this. Don't really know what else to do. I think that's a reasonable solution in this situation here. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Let me work away at that. Okay, so if we take a look here, I am able to wrap the negatives together in such a way that I think I can get them soldered straight onto this terminal here. The problem is the positives now are kind of pointing in the wrong direction. Really, how's that going to go from there? So that would leave this thing floating right on top. Makes it easy for connecting the wires. If I put this up nice and close, this gets rigid because these wires are rigid, and there's three of them forming a triangular shape, which is going to really rigidify this thing. Leaving it here is not bad. I mean, that's where it is now, so to speak, so why not leave it in the same area? Gotta do something about, well, this resistor will end up between two of these. These three are all the same size, so I can just hook them up as they are and then carefully select where the wires go and then make sure this guy, I could do this one next. I could do the wire for this one. Wait a minute, this goes across to this terminal. Oh, wait a minute. This terminal is going to become over here. So ultimately the resistor is going to run from over here up onto here somewhere. From where I'm looking, from my perspective, I see a 1, 2, 3 wires. I can put them on the same way, 1, 2, 3. Resistor goes in the middle. Resistor goes out to this terminal. This thing's hanging off these wires down here. Now, order of work. Probably the best thing to do is to solder in the ground here, the negative, solidly. Get that done. Now these will be held together nicely. Then work this into the picture. And then work up each of the 3 wires. And then bring out the resistor after that. I should probably, you know what? I should probably start with this terminal, really. Get this done onto here. That's probably where I really should start. Because there's complications here, and once I put this in, pooh, it's going to be full of stuff. So let's do that. First one is this terminal cleared off. Everything moved onto this terminal back here. Can you even see this kind of stuff? I guess you can kind of see what I'm doing. This resistor, of course, we'll put a new one in. What's that? Looks like 2700 is what it looks like. 2700. Can we see that on the schematic? Let's see. So that resistor is right in here. Ooh, is that R11, I think. R11, not C11. R11 resistor, 150 ohm, 1 watt. That's this one. R4, 33 half watt. So this is a big resistor. It's a 1 watt or something like that. 2700 R6. That's probably R6 there. 2700. Okay. That verifies the size enough for me. Good. So what we'll do is we'll release these wires from this terminal one by one and stick them on this terminal one by one. What about getting this capacitor out of the way? Let's do that too. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 capacitors nipped away here. Well, I'm doing it on video, so if I really get lost, I can sort it out from the video. We'll leave that guy there. Gives me somewhat better access to down here. Okay. See if I can improve your camera angle. Let's spin this guy right around. It's a little bit of a better view. Let's see if I can focus this a touch better too. That's about as good as it gets. Okay, one wire at a time. Take this one first. I'm just going to cut them off, make no attempt to desolder anything. This wire comes up. Clear a little bit off of it. Bring it down. Stick it through. There's my first one. Okay, next wire, I'll take this one here. Actually, I'm going to nip both the red wires off at this point. I want to grab one of them. It's this one here. I ever told you my high school story with one of these? Okay, I got in high school, grade 9, took electric shop. Never seen a tool like this before. We had these great, big, honking, scary things. Similar principle though. You squeeze it and the cutters move inside like that. So don't ask me how I did this. Somehow I got my finger caught right inside here somehow. Right inside this thing. And if I tried to squeeze it to release the pressure, the cutting blades moved in on my finger. So I'm sitting at my desk, my finger stuck in this tool, saying, how am I get my finger out? I don't know. So, teacher. So the teacher comes down, eyes kind of pop out of his head when he sees what I've got going. And he fiddles with it for a while. I remember watching him, squeezing it, trying to figure out how's this thing going to work that my finger's not going to get chopped off or stripped to the bone or something. And suddenly he just grabs my hand and yanks it out. That was it. It was just pull my finger out quick. No harm done, except to the ego. Ego. I think we had a quick lesson on playing with tools right after that. But you know, that's a jackpot, right? That's a jackpot safety situation where you've got yourself in and there's no way out without getting hurt. Yeah. So that's 2 of those wires. Better think back at what I'm doing now. I got to get the 3rd one, but the 3rd one is too short. The 3rd one is just too short. So I'm going to replace it all the way back. What the heck? Oh yeah, that's my work. What the heck is this bent wire doing here? Hey, I neglected one of these. I've neglected one. As if he doesn't count. Should leave this out of the picture. No, I didn't neglect this. This one's going over here. Wait a sec. Hold the fort. Making a mistake. This orange one is headed for this one. One of these is headed for there. Making a mistake here. Okay, let's see if we can make this a real mess. I'll put this in here. It's a pretty ugly looking schmozzle. But in fact, that's not bad. When we solder it up, it'll become very, very stiff and strong. It's like reinforcing rods inside concrete. So we'll pretend. Well, we'll find out when we go. But this looks like these 3. These 3 here. This is the ground. Woo. How's this going to go now? What was the plan? The plan is to stick this down in here. Okay, wait a minute. Let me bundle these up better with a tie wrap. That's a pretty tough bundle there. I don't think that's going to come apart. Okay, now I have to think. Darn it. I have to think. I think some protective sleeves on these big positives would be good. So let's do that. Because think I'm on my way to trouble otherwise. Oh, I think I'm on my way to trouble in any case here. I'm sure trouble. Trouble lies ahead. Oops. Just nip those useless little bits off there. Oh, I shook off. I shook off all my little covers. See if I can keep these on while I do this. Okay, now ground connection. Get it right on the terminal if I could. You know, I think I can melt that and shove that right through the hole there. Let's try that. There's already 2 wires going through the hole. Hope there's room for a number 3. Jeez. Come on, soldering iron. This doesn't want to cooperate here. So I'm not transferring heat fast enough into the connection from the soldering iron. I gotta increase the heat transfer rate. There we go. Right through the hole. Right up tight. Tight, tight, tight. Okay, now fold this guy back. And we'll repeat now the words of Winston Churchill. I repeat it a number of times in here. Plans are nothing. Planning is everything. And what he meant by that was having a plan, well, that's okay. But your ability to generate plans is what really counts. Because generally speaking, plans fail pretty early on in their implementation when reality sets in. On almost all fronts. And so when reality sets in, like you broke your terminal strip, that kind of reality, your ability to plan is then what you end up relying on. Especially, you know, the initial plan, you make it in great comfort all the time in the world. Usually the second plan, the corrective plan, is coming on the fly, on the site, just like mine here. And so while you might be able to plan in a nice, quiet environment, if you like, the real test is how well you can do planning under duress. Like what I'm under now. Duress. Yeah, duress in my house. Well, I don't want to upset the boss. So I'm putting a lot of solder on this to really freeze it up. Stiffen it up. I think that's going to work. I think that's really going to work. I'm going to make it work. So the next step would be what is the next step? What do you even need this for? This is fairly stiff. These wires are fairly short. I can make them even shorter. I've done that before, where I brought the wires right up. Hey, maybe I should do that. Why not do that? Why not? Okay, leave this piece right out because it's actually complicating things. So now, order of things. So one of these capacitors is a small guy. Here he is here. Small guy goes to the orange wire. And that's it. So why don't we do that one first? We'll get that one done and out of the way. Small guy, and I can bend this way back over here because this orange wire is long enough to get there. Okay, let's see. Is it? Pull back. Fantastic. Now you see, I don't have a complete plan here, right? I did when I started, but I don't now. So I'm implementing elements of a secondary plan made on the fly without knowing for sure. Ultimately, I can pull this off. And my original plan, of course, didn't work because I didn't know it wasn't going to work. But at least I covered the whole territory. Oh, shoot. Oh, man. I cut my thumb the other day right there. Right there. I just stuck a wire right into the spot where I cut it. Ah. Son of a gun. Okay, try and keep your head about you. If you can keep your head about you when everyone else is losing theirs and blaming it on you. That's probably the greatest poem ever, Rudyard Kipling's poem. There's probably more wisdom packed into that one poem than almost anything else I have ever read. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get on Google, type in "If You Can Keep Your Head," Rudyard Kipling. If you've never read that poem, and you probably have, because I think it's a very, very well-known poem. If you haven't, read it. Oh, look at that gapping right open now. Son of a gun. I managed to cut myself right on the main business point of my thumb, the end of my thumb. It's kind of sticking out there like a sore, like a sore thumb, isn't it? Done this way. I'd rather slide a shrink sleeve over it. Let's do it differently. Change of plan. Change of plan. Doing that a lot today. Change of plan. Yeah. Darn it. Can't use my thumb. Okay, take this off. What was I saying about changing plans midstream? This is a change of a plan to a plan. Change of a plan to a change of a change plan. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Apparently it's time for me to take a break here. Okay, let's see if we can do this again. Now I need a nice piece of shrink tubing. This fantastic collection of shrink tubing here, but you know, it's all kind of inappropriate sizes. So what do I want? Something like that should probably work. I can afford to put quite a bit on there. Why don't I pick orange or something like that? Something that matches a little better. Red. Where are we on the clock here? Oh, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Winter just won't leave us alone here in Aurelia. And I shouldn't talk because the east coast of Canada and I think Montreal got an ice storm the last few days, and there's a lot of serious weather. Not here. It's just your regular. How am I going to do that? How am I going to twist those together? Little tiny stiff wires with my sore thumb. I can just get a clamp. So I'm in a bit of a quandary here in my shop because I have three things on the go. I have this radio I'm working on right now. I have one I sort of checked out and discovered a lot of speaker problems with it and set it aside for now, which I'd like to get back to, in fact, due to great ideas lent to me by you about how to carry on with that radio. And then, but I have a commercial job coming on Monday. Today is Friday. Monday is just a few days away. So I'm going to try to finish this radio before Monday. That's my goal. So on Monday I can get right on to the commercial work. My own stuff can wait a bit. And then in the background I have all this crazy tube testing stuff I was doing, which I am not finished by any means. So I don't like having all this stuff kind of open. Too many jobs open at once. There, that's going to do it. I'll be able to slide the sleeve over it. There we go. There we are. Give that a moment. And now the next one, I have three more to do. Let's see, the next one I'll pick this one. This one has nothing on it but one red wire. So I just do that, connect it, we're done. This one's going to one of the large terminals, one of the large capacitors. I've done the small capacitor, can't make a mistake there now. Oh, I probably could if I worked at it. Okay, let's cover this up now. There we go. There. Okay, then we fold this down and away. Good. So we take this red wire and we can do something with it. We can put it in a difficult spot. So these two are the easy ones and this one's the difficult one. So we're going to take this red wire, we're going to attach it to the difficult one. Oh, wait a minute, am I wasting a long wire? This is a fairly long wire here. I got a shorter wire here. Shorter wire is still plenty long to get to these. probably going to want to like run the resistor short off of here. Like I don't want it, you know, stretch out a long floppy lead. So I'm shorten the resistor, connect it here. The other side of the resistor is going to be sitting about here. This red wire, no, this red wire is the one that's got to go. So if I bring the resistor out to roughly the same location as it is now, then the wires are all the right length by default. So then I can just connect it to here. So resistor to here, and this wire to here. This red wire around to here, and then this last one has to pick up. I think I'm getting this mixed up. Why don't we do this? There's two things on this terminal. I'll take them off and put them on here where they need to go. I've already forgotten where these wires came from. That's why I'm stopping. Yeah, I've done too much this morning. And too many ideas roll through my head. I sort of have a first in, last out. You know, as more stuff goes in, stuff starts coming out the back. And can't remember the earlier things. Son of a gun. We can continue moving forward while leaving the confusion behind. Sounds like a good philosophy in life. So I can still do this one wire up to one of these capacitors. Don't worry about the resistor and all that other stuff later. That's right, I remember now. I cut the wires, moved them there, as the plan was. This wire's not long enough, so I was going to have to extend it, but I held off. I could do something funny with the resistor lead here to catch this wire without having to change it. Bring it out like that. Okay, single red wire down here. And I wanted to put it on the difficult connection here. Bring it in like that. Okay, a piece of shrinking sleeve. I don't want to make a big lumpy connection here. I'm not going to be able to get the shrink sleeve over it. Okay. Okay, that's got that. It's a bit of a lap joint, but that's a fair bit of lapping. Okay, slide the cover over, it's still hot. You run the risk of the shrink sleeve shrinking prematurely when you do that. Go, 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 go. There we go. Okay, 2 done. This is good. It's all going good. Squeeze that down there. Now, next thing is, so from here we go one connection to one end of the resistor and the red wire. The other over to here on an extension. And this red wire. So we'll start on this end. So I need a 2700 1-watt resistor. Yeah, looks okay. 2700 1-watt resistor. Okay, gotta go dig that up. Okay, so I don't have an exact replacement. I have some high wattage ones I could put in here, like a 5-watt, but that's kind of a waste of a powerful resistor. But I don't have a 2700, but I have a whole bunch of these 3300s, high wattage resistors. So what I'm wondering is, if I change that from 27, where is it, 27 to 33, what do I end up with? I just measured this. Here, let's take a look at this. The resistor is in circuit, so any resistance I measure can only be less than the actual resistance of the resistor I'm interested in. And I get 29, I get 29 almost 3K. So what would happen if you put in a larger resistor? I think this is in the power supply. I'm pretty sure it's a power supply between 2 capacitors. Part of the filtering system is dropping, it's carrying current, it's dropping some voltage. So putting in a bigger resistor is going to drop a little more voltage. And where's it coming from? It's coming from the B+. So you would drop the B+ slightly. That's going to reduce, if you drop it slightly, like 10%, I have almost virtually no effect on the radio, except slow down the wearing out of the output tube a little bit. Not enough to, yeah, no, I think I'll put this in. I'm going to put this guy in. I have so many of these, I got to use them up. And I don't have what I need. And this is an even higher wattage than the one that's in there. So, and it's stiff, stiff, stiff. I need stiff. Stiff in here. This is the idea here. So put this guy through here. Okay, and he comes out stiff so I want to try to pick up the short wire on the lead coming out. So I can pull this out a little further. It's like I'm extending the terminal up. Wow, it's just barely going to make it. Unless I bring it out even further. The further I bring it, the less stiff it is. Now the other end of this resistor is going to be connected to a red wire and one of these. This end has to be connected over here. So the only way to kind of pull this off without putting in more and more wire would be to have this really stick out. Like that. Like stick out even further. This is a high voltage terminal, so I can get this all the way out to there. This will make it. And then the red one will make it up to here. And then the other end just has to come over to here. And we're done. This red one has to come up to here. That sounds like a plan. That sounds like that'll work. Okay, so we would want this over this way. Swing this around like this. Something like that. Gotta put some cover on this for sure. Let's do that now. This has turned into quite an extensive little project here. We can put this stuff on. If you don't plan these things out, when you're going to install something like this to replace the fixed in place capacitor there, if you don't plan this out carefully, you will end up in bad jackpots. Bad jackpots. I don't want to end up in one. So maybe I can swing this resistor. No, I have to hook up to this red wire here. Let's get that in place. So we can bring it up here. Actually, I'm going to bring it all the way back. I was running along the chassis, and I'm lifting it up off the chassis. It's not the best idea. So this wire can go down, this bare one here, and so this can go down. Okay, before I get too far, let's get some bare wire exposed here. Okay. So this will be hooked on here. Did something I wouldn't normally do last night. I listened to orchestral music, Stravinsky, and I quite enjoyed it. I was quite surprised. I heard a little piece on a video, and they mentioned Stravinsky, and I thought, well, I've certainly heard that all my life, heard that name all my life. Why don't I listen to something and just see what, because what a little bit I heard was intriguing. So I listened to, I don't know, some large orchestra somewhere. It's stunning. It really is stunning what people can do together. And the music's no exception to that. Come on, just hook on there, would you? Stravinsky. There. So that's this capacitor. No, it isn't. It's just laying there. Is that the right capacitor? Yeah, that's okay. Whoops. bend these wires too much, especially up tight to the body of the component. I do not really want to be. Come on, hook on there. Sounds like the big cat is moving around upstairs. Pretty sure everything I hear in my ears you hear on these videos. Pretty sure of that. Oh, jeepers creepers. Again, just sometimes just the simplest little deals. There. Okay, come on now. Clamp it down. Oh, I think I just undid it. So there's another way you would build a radio from the start. You would not be attaching wires to component leads and stuff like that. That would be a bad way to go in a manufacturing environment, but here in a repair environment, I don't think it's a big deal. So if someone's saying, hey, you shouldn't do that, well, the only reason you shouldn't do these kinds of things is because it just makes it harder and harder to consistently build in a manufacturing environment, and to when the radio reaches the end of the line and it doesn't work and they want to figure out, oh, what mistake was made this time, they want to be looking at exactly the same radio layout. They want everybody, all the builders, to have done exactly the same thing. They don't want unique specimens coming through. Oh my gosh, this is just a disaster here. This is where the frustration starts getting high. Taking a break is a good idea. Man alive. Just unbelievable. What has happened here? I'm just going to get rid of it. Goodbye to you. That went flying. Yeah, I can see from my behavior that I've reached the end of the road here for now. I'll go up and talk to the big cat for a while. After I finish this very frustrating thing here. Just want a little bit of mechanical grip. There. By Jove, I got it. Now, so that's the red wire. That's a capacitor. That's the resistor. Coming around. Coming around. Coming back. Like that. I know for sure what's going to happen. This shrink sleeve is going to shrink. This connection is going to remain uninsulated up high here. I'm not going to be able to do much about that, I don't think. Not easily. I'm going to try though. Let's try big shrink sleeve. luck, this won't shrink prematurely. Come on. I'm sure it's going to shrink. Oh well. Yeah, for sure that's going to shrink. Can't get everything perfect. Okay. Soldering iron is timed out. Okay. Don't shrink. Don't shrink. Might be lucky with that one. That's that. Now we'll get this guy. Oh, I should have put a sleeve on there. I'm not gonna. Too bad. Soldering right up against the body of the resistor. Resistor, of course, is designed to cool itself off. There we go. Now, this terminal down here. Lots of solder on there. I just try to blow off the high heat right away. So that's as stiff as can be there. That's come out okay. This is plenty stiff. That's good. Actually, this has come out fairly well. Let's see if I can pull this over top here. Oh, wait a minute. Hold the fort. I got to get another wire up there. That's a 3-banger connection. Hold on. I almost forgot one. Almost left one poor guy behind. So this resistor can come out of here now. Get a bit of a clearer look at the terminals. Are they clear? Empty, empty. One red wire yet to go, empty. So apparently I've removed all the wires. That's good. They've all gone somewhere. Hopefully they all went to the right spot. Including this last guy. Yeah, the shrink sleeve wasn't going to really work out, was it? So I ended up with this connection in absolutely the worst spot. You just don't want something like this right up on top of the radio like that. That's not the way to do it. But that's what I've ended up with. melt some of the insulation there. That's about it. I have that rushing feeling now, that I'm rushing. Can't deal with that little blob there on the end. And that went flying too. That's another indication of me needing to stop here. I don't really say it very much, but while I'm working away on these radios and thinking about the circuits in them and what they're doing and all that, at the same time I'm thinking about myself on the same level. I see myself as a reactive thing that's can be obviously can be thought about and studied. Me. So I am somewhat introspective, in case you haven't noticed. I don't usually get that way in these videos, introspective as such. But that's a lot of what's going on in my head while I'm doing this, that kind of stuff. And mistakes happen, and occasionally I talk a little bit about it, but it's just another fascinating thing. Just like you, as far as we know, the most complex thing in the universe is inside our heads. As far as we know, the most complex thing in the universe is inside of our heads. So, can you be fascinated by a radio? Yes, sure. If you're not fascinated by what's in your head, you're missing out on something. The biggest mysteries of all. Now, what should I do with these remaining terminals? I think I'm going to bend them inwards a little bit. There they are. You can clearly see nothing hooked up to them anymore. Now check my connections and see that I didn't get them loose, or oh yeah, see, there's one wire. It didn't actually get soldered. You see? Still didn't get soldered. Nope, that's not going to work. That's better. Now let's see if we can get solder to go on that. Down under there. So the problem is I can't hit the wire with the soldering iron there. I think I can like that. Sometimes the heat won't transfer from the soldering iron to the terminal to the wire. It won't make that transfer. It's the insulation. I'm feeling something loose. It's the insulation that's a little bit loose on this wire. Is it? Yeah, I actually feel the insulation rattling, like rattling on the wire a bit. Good. Wire soldered. We're soldered here. We're soldered there, here, and soldered to the I want to say ground terminal, to the outside of the can of the old capacitor without making an accidental contact with the chassis. Let me just make sure of that. So there is clearance there, but wait a minute, did all of these wires get... Hey, well, you know what? I don't think the negatives are completely solder bundled in there. I think there's one that didn't make it. Yeah. Okay. A little more soldering up in there. There we go. There we go. Everybody's happy now, I think. There it is. That's what it takes. Now this is going into a metal cabinet. This is really up. Look at that. Did I just crack that? I just cracked that wire right off. It did not get buried in the solder. Okay, I'll try it again. Let's push this down though. Get this green wire kind of out of here. So I almost let that one get by me. Quite often off camera, after I do a lot of work, I spend some time going through checking all the connections. I do it off camera quite often. Okay, he's on there. Now, I'm going to throw, for what it's worth, it's not worth very much. I'm going to put some electrical tape on that. It's a sad way to do this, but at the very least, it's going to protect me a little bit here. This very much, but that's really crummy. I'm hoping it'll stick to the sides of the capacitors pretty good. Stay there. But there we are. Or so I think. Well, that is enough. That is enough for today for me, and that's for sure. It was a little more complicated than I expected, but I've done enough of these to know that to do this and get a good result is not easy on these radios. So I think I got something okay there. And now it's on to all these paper capacitors. They will be next. So thanks for watching this. Took a little while. See you on the next video.